right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Brothers and Boss Battles Bonus Level, an offshoot from our regular show, Brothers and Boss Battles, a video game showdown. In these bonus level episodes, we'll be talking about the lighter side of games, doing lists and drafts and things like that. Today is games that we would be willing to pay $80 to buy and play, and that's in light of the fact that the Nintendo Switch 2, which was recently announced, has indicated that some of its games will cost $80, which is sort of a high point for video games. So we thought, hey, what games we'd be so interested in that we'd be willing to pay that amount off the bat? Let's just jump right into it. I'm Anthony, and my brothers Pete and Tom are here, the regular cast of Brothers and Boss Battles, and we're going to share some thoughts with you, and hopefully you enjoy what we have to say. All right, anyone want to start? Tom, you indicated before you had some ideas.
Sure, yeah. So I want to start with one that's kind of like a softball, but it's going to transition into one that's actually like a unique, cool idea.
A hardball.
A hardball, exactly. So the first one is a new Super Smash Bros. Game on the Switch 2, provided that they address the issues with input lag that made me not like Smash Ultimate that much on the regular Switch.
All right, that makes sense. I mean,
what do you think such a game would be called?
Super Smash Bros. Extreme.
Oh, I like it.
Ultimate
Switch 2.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, obviously, we're big Super Smash Brothers fans here, and that would, by the fact that every time we play a Nintendo game, we reference Super Smash Brothers. So, yeah, I'd love to see that. That's a sort of game is like I'd have to get a Switch 2 just for that.
Yeah, that's why I call it softball, because I mean that's probably a lot of people would pay.
Yeah,
that for
yeah. I mean, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the reason why I got a Switch.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, I feel like it's pretty likely that they'll actually release that game for $80. So
yeah,
I guess we'll put our money where our mouths are.
But just before you continue, let's just let the listeners know. Just because the impetus of this episode was the Switch 2 $80 games, we're kind of just saying $80 games in general. So we're not going to just pick Nintendo or Switch games, right? Just to lay some groundwork. Right. Okay.
Right, of course, yeah.
All right. So,
and on that note, another Nintendo game. No, so like I mentioned that, that was going to lead into another game. So this is a game that doesn't exist and probably never will, but if there was a Nintendo game in the same vein as Super Smash Brothers, where it features a whole cast of different Nintendo characters, but if that was in a MOBA game that plays like Smite or Smite 2, that I would pay $80 for.
So basically, like that Pokemon game that was supposed.
No, not like that.
Which one was that again?
Pokemon Unite.
Yeah. I mean, a good version of that.
Yeah, but with all Nintendo characters instead of just Pokemon.
Right. Yeah, that would be definitely something good. I kind of want to go next, Pete. I know you're itching to go, but I want to say mine because I don't have a ton, to be honest. So I don't want you to take mine in case because you might.
Okay.
So the thing I and others I think have been clamoring for as far as a classic, iconic video game series that has not been brought into the modern world and not enjoy the technology of online gaming and arena-based gaming and MOBAs and all of that. But what I would pay in an instant $80 for to get would be a version of Twisted Metal that you could play online against people, have a big arena battle, something like that. So that would be my that would be my biggest contribution to this list, I think.
That wasn't one of the games I was going to mention. So.
I mean, I just think it would be so cool. I cannot believe they haven't. It's not even like it's talked about, let alone in the works. It seems obvious, but there must be something we're missing.
It's probably something with, I don't know, rights holders or something. Yeah.
So let me go next. It is actually a game that was mentioned very early on in our podcast, one of the first episodes, Conker's Other Bad Day. If they made the sequel, that they apparently was in the very early stages of in the works, I would pay $80 instantly for that game.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
yeah, you guys are big fans of that original.
Yeah. And for those who haven't heard the episode, you guys should go back and listen to that. That was a good one.
Episode 3.
All right, who wants to go next?
Any other thoughts?
I could do another one. So, these might actually happen someday, but my next game or games is remakes of Final Fantasy VIII and or 9, but with a battle system that's more closely resembling the originals rather than what they did in the Final Fantasy VII remake.
They did do remasters of those, right? But not like remakes.
They're just essentially ports.
Ports, yeah.
With slightly updated graphics, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, those would be good. I have a feeling if they were to do it, though, they would just have that new battle system, like with the Final Fantasy
Probably.
VII remake. And
Yeah, 'cause that's like the more modern
yeah,
thing that
yeah,
newer gamers are into.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there have been rumors about the internet as of late about a Final Fantasy IX remake, so could be seeing that soon.
No love for Final Fantasy VIII, I guess.
Seems to be the dark horse.
Yeah, the dark. I don't think that's the proper phrase there.
The black sheep.
The black
maybe?
sheep. Yeah,
Black
sheep.
Wrong barnyard animal.
Yeah. I
I
would.
have,
Yeah,
go ahead. Go
No, I
ahead.
was gonna say, and this is so random, and who knows if we'll ever cover something like this on the podcast. But there's an old game that was available for Sega, but we played it on the TurboGrafx 16. That I always just kind of liked because I like the concept of it, even though it was incredibly difficult. So I'd love if they would maybe modernize it and make it a little bit more possible. But Kadash. I would love a new Kadash that was
Wow, that is
possible.
really random.
That was possible to get past the first level. And on that vein of TurboGrafx, I'd love Bonk to make a resurgence.
Oh, that's a good one. If it was like a modern
Yeah.
new Bonk,
Yeah,
I might have to pay $80 for that.
yeah.
So what I was going to say is also maybe a little out of left field, but I like VR games.
Mhm.
And if they made a VR baseball game that actually felt like
Yeah.
baseball,
Yeah.
yeah, I would probably pay hundreds of dollars for that game.
Oh
Like if it was like MLB The Show VR,
yeah.
honestly,
Definitely VR. Any state of
any
VR.
VR game that actually really felt real,
Yeah.
I would pay $80 for.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when VR is a little more, I don't know, viable in the
Yeah.
gaming community.
Yeah, the graphics and gameplay are still a little weak. Though there are some cool ones. Some cool the Star Wars ones and stuff where you really could feel like you're using the Force.
Yeah.
But I hear you.
I do have one other one definitely on my list. I obviously had Super Smash Brothers, and then I also had Twisted Metal.
Mhm.
So you guys took those. So I just go. All right, I guess I'll just
Yeah,
go.
just go.
So this, the announcement on Switch 2, they also announced this 3D Donkey Kong game,
Mhm.
Donkey Kong Bonanza, and it looks pretty stupid if you ask me.
Ooh.
So if they made like a Donkey Kong 65 instead, whereas basically Donkey Kong 64, you had the characters and you got to collect a bunch of stuff, and there's all these puzzles and going back to the stages to the levels, like once you unlock a new move or a new character. So
Yeah, like a true sequel to Donkey Kong 64.
sequel, yeah. Honestly, if they just made a Donkey Kong 64 remake, I would pay $80 for it.
What about, speaking of a game we just recently covered that sequel never came out here, but in Japan there was Mother 2, and then Mother 3. Obviously, that only Earthbound came out here in the States. Would you pay $80 for an Earthbound sequel? I might.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about that. Probably not. But I mean, the thing is with Nintendo, it never goes on sale. So
Yeah. So,
if you want to play the game, you have to pay the $80 for it.
right.
All right, I could go for another one.
Yeah.
This one will likely be reality someday, but I put Resident Evil 9 or a remake of any of the early mainline games that haven't already been remade. So that would be 0, 1, or Code Veronica.
Yeah, I think Resident Evil 9 is in the works, unless the rumors I've been hearing are not true.
I see so many rumors about that. It's supposed to be
Leon and Jill for the first time,
yeah.
Which would be cool, but yeah, I don't know if it's just like people are trying to will it into existence as opposed to...
Kind of seems that way, yeah.
They must be getting old now, those original 4 cast people.
I could rattle off a couple more.
Yeah.
So, I have a sequel to Elden Ring or Bloodborne. Those will likely get one of those someday too. And then I put a new Red Dead Redemption game. Those two were just like Red Dead 1 and 2 were like some of my favorite games of all time. So I would gladly pay for another one.
Yeah.
And then I also had a new God of War game where you play in some new Pantheon lands. Like,
yeah,
because they did Greek and Norse already. The likely trajectory of that series is to go into a different Pantheon.
Right.
I think Egypt would be cool.
Yeah. Those are all good suggestions.
And all fairly likely, I would say, to happen someday.
So if those, publishers are listening, they should be putting an $80 price tag on those games when they come out.
I'm sure they already were gonna.
I'm trying to think. Go ahead.
I was like kind of excited about Switch 2. And then once I saw the price of the console and the games potentially, I was like, I'm probably not going to get one.
How much is the console?
It's $450.
Yeah.
$450?
Yeah. It's not crazy, honestly, but
I just don't know how many games they're going to be, especially at launch.
Well, yeah.
They do have the GameCube the GameCube.
Oh, like the
virtual console thing.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I could see that being like a selling point.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have to pay extra for it.
Yeah. Well, it might be part of the online subscription thing.
Would you pay $80 for a GameCube virtual console?
For the year? Probably. GameCube had a lot of good games. I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was one-time payment, I would.
I'm sure it'll be the
yearly subscription.
Yearly subscription, yeah.
But anyway, I kind of want the Switch 2 to not sell well and the games to not sell well because
I would say that it's more of like a year later purchase. Yeah. It'll probably drop in price.
Yeah. Do you not want that to happen because you think that'll set a new standard?
Yes. Yeah. Because if they're selling Donkey Kong Bonanza off the shelves, if they're flying off the shelves for $80, then I don't see why the majority of other games aren't going to be selling for $80.
Yeah. But that might just be the way it's going.
Yeah, eventually it is. But
they were $60 for so long.
Yeah, and then now they're $70.
Yeah, the jump from 60 to 70 and 70 to 80 did happen in a pretty quick span.
Yeah. It's basically one generation.
Yeah. It'd be cool if they made remakes of I don't know, Mario Baseball or those kind of games.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. I actually put a new version of NFL Street.
Yeah.
I would pay for.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You would pay $80 for that game?
For NFL Street? Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Now, especially with online.
Yeah. Because that kind of extends its life. You can play people online.
Yeah.
Games like that are so much better than Madden.
No. All right.
Yeah. All right. That's a good list there. We'll see if any of these game developers and publishers are listening, hopefully, and they'll get rich because we're willing to pay, and there's probably people that are way more willing to pay. So, all right. Thanks, guys. This was fun. Let us know your thoughts, listeners, on our social media pages, X and Instagram at Brothers Boss Battles. That's BROS Boss Battles. On YouTube, Twitch, our website at brothersandbossbattles.com, and wherever you get this podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like us. You'll get all of by subscribing, you'll get notice of all our episodes that launch, and take a listen to the back ones. We referenced a few today. And stay tuned next week for our Bro Down episode where Super Mario RPG, Earthbound, and Pokemon Red and Blue go up against each other, and we will declare a winner for our Nintendo RPG category. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.